Albert Einstein was once quoted as saying, "I fear the day that technology will surpass our human interaction. The world will have a generation of idiots." Well, ladies and gentlemen, that day is finally upon us, because if you look around us, you can see that everyone is so connected into their smartphones and texting and the internet and television and radio and their laptops and iPads. I mean, the list goes on and on, that we don't even realize how much it is actually affecting our society. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to persuade you that the rapid advances in technology are actually changing the way in which our society acts and behaves. And I myself am actually pretty guilty of all the lists that I just went over. I mean, I'm on my smartphone, and I'm on Facebook, and I go on my laptop, and I watch television. So I'm just as guilty as everybody else. Now, to persuade you today, I'm going to go over 3 main points. First, I'm going to go over an article by Nicholas Carr titled "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" And then I'm going to go over our younger generation and how the internet is affecting them. And then thirdly, I'm going to go over the rest of America and their dependence on smartphones. The rest of America meaning 18 years and older. Alright guys, let's get started. Now, Google has become so integrated into our part of our lives that we actually don't even realize how much it actually affects our daily lives. I mean, if you guys want to look up the symptoms of an illness, you just go on Google and you get the answer. If you want to know the capital of Alabama, you just go onto Google and you get the answer. I mean, the power is at our fingertips. We can basically get the answer to any question that we have just by going on Google. Now, this is exemplified in an article by Nicholas Carr titled, "Is Google Making Us Stupid?" Now, the article itself might sound a little ridiculous, but when you think about everything I just went over, I mean, it really is taking away our ability. Now, Carr believes that it's taking away our capacity for concentration and contemplation. While this in itself might sound like an opinion, he actually spoke to a group of scholars over at the University College London who were conducting research. And they discovered that skimming is actually replacing our ability to retain information while reading articles or books. And this is further exemplified by a development psychologist named Marianne Wolf, who believes that this new style of writing places efficiency and immediacy above everything else, and it's completely changing the ways in which we conduct our everyday lives. Alright, now that I have you guys thinking about how much technology is affecting us, let's look at the teens in America now. Now, this part of my speech, a lot of what I have is from an article written by Amanda Lenhart. Now, Lenhart discovered that 24% of teens are almost constantly on the internet, meaning that they're on their laptops or smartphones, and by almost constantly, I mean that they're checking it a few times every hour. Now, 3/4 of teens actually have access to a smartphone. Now, what this is doing is it's actually changing our patterns of communication in society, whereas decades past, we used to call up one another and speak verbally over the phone. Now, a new form of communication is emerging known as texting. Now, texting is a nonverbal form of communication, so nonverbal is actually changing our verbal way of communicating. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, these are just kids, I mean, who really cares about them? But what we're going to do now is we're going to look at some statistics about the rest of America, meaning everyone that's 18 years or older, who we would consider adults. Now, this part of my speech is actually from a couple studies by Felix Richard. Now, Richard discovered that ever since the first iPhone came out in 2007, that our dependence has been growing more and more on technology. And he actually discovered that adults 18 years or older use electronic media, meaning radio, television, smartphones, internet, etc., at least 11 or more hours a day, which is pretty crazy when you think about it, because the average human is only awake between 16 and 18 hours. I mean, that's a lot of time. Now, in another study, also by Felix, he discovered that 72% of adults between 18 to 29 are actually on their smartphones every hour, and 22% of those people actually said that they check every few minutes their smartphones. And what was actually funny about the study that he did is that the 22% that said they checked every few minutes actually stated that it's not as bad as a lot of their friends who are actually checking phones. Now, that is actually a sign of addictive behavior when you pawn off your addiction on someone else. Alright guys, in conclusion, we've learned today that Google is basically simplifying everything for us. The answer to everything is at the power of our fingertips. Communication is changing not only amongst teens but adults as well, whereas we're switching from more verbal communication to nonverbal communication in the form of texting. And we've also discovered that smartphones are giving us an addict-like behavior where we need to constantly check and look at our phones. Now, I hope that I persuaded everyone listening that technology is actually changing the way in which society is conducting itself. And I myself am actually guilty of this. So I hope that a lot of people take what I said today and really think about the information. So to close out my speech today, I'm going to give you a quote from Andrew Brown. Now, Brown was stated as saying, "The internet is so big, so powerful and pointless that for some people it is a complete substitute for life." Very powerful. Alright guys, I hope you learned something today.